てきました。こうした幾層にもわたる日米の協力が日米の抑止力、対処力を確かなものとしております。
From where we stand, we can see maritime self-defense forces Mogami and Maya, vessels of Japan's maritime self-defense force, and USS George Washington have conducted numerous joint exercises. Just as importantly, there are so many Japanese and American personnel working for logistics and maintenance here in Yokosuka. And there's also a strong sense of bond with the local community here. Those are what have been supporting the activities of U.S. Navy over the years. There's no doubt that such multi-layered Japan-U.S. cooperation is what makes it possible for us to ensure the credibility of our two nations' deterrence and response capabilities.
私は決意しています。今後、日本の防衛力を抜本的に強化して、この地域の平和と安定により一層積極的に貢献していきます。
So let me reiterate my unwavering determination here. Japan is committed to fundamentally reinforce its defense capabilities, and Japan is ready to contribute even more proactively to peace and stability of the region.
そのことにより、トランプ大統領とともに世界で最も偉大な同盟になった日米同盟をさらなる高みに引き上げてまいります。
Through these efforts, together with President Trump, I am determined to elevate the Japan-U.S. alliance, which has already become the greatest alliance in the world, to even greater heights.
日米は共に帆を掲げ、自由で開かれた海を進みます。この横須賀から紡がれる航路は、日米の絆を輝く未来へと導くことを確信しています。
Japan and the United States will advance together with our sails raised high across a free and open sea. And I am very confident that the sea route from Yokosuka will make our bond even stronger and bring our two nations on the path to a shining future.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much. And we will have a long, good relationship, and we'll have fun doing it. You know, you have to have fun, although sometimes it's never fun. She's tough to negotiate with, I want to tell you. But I'm delighted to report that I've just approved the first batch of missiles. You saw a couple of them coming down with me. I hugged them. We need them. They're the best in the world. Nobody has them like we have them. They all want our missiles. That's the problem. Everybody wants them. But it's the first batch of missiles to be delivered to the Japanese self-defense forces for Japan's F-35s. And they're coming this week, so they're ahead of schedule. So I just want to tell Madam Prime Minister, they've been waiting for those missiles, and we got them here right away as soon as I heard about it. I want to thank former Senator, a great gentleman, by the way. He was so popular, but I took him out, and I made him Secretary of State. I think he was born for it. Marco Rubio, thank you very much, Marco. Where are you, Marco? Great job. Great job. He was born for it. Ambassador George Glass, thank you very much, George. Good job you're doing. Thank you. And many of our outstanding uniformed leaders with us today, including the head of the Indo-Pacific Command, Admiral Samuel Paparo. Where is Samuel? Hello. Good, but these are good-looking people. Could make a movie with these guys. They're like Central Cat. Look at this group of people. Commander of the U.S. Forces, Japan, General Stephen Jost. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. The commander of the 7th... Oh, that's a big deal. I think Do you want to switch jobs for 1 week? Only for 1 week, all right. 7th Fleet, big stuff. Vice Admiral Fred Kacher. Fred, thank you very much. That's great. And the commander of Carrier Strike Group 5, Rear Admiral Eric Pappy Andoze. Hello, Pappy. That's great. Good. Thank you very much. And of course, we can't forget about your command triad aboard the George Washington. There's nothing like this one. This is a beauty. And I hear your commanding officer is a big Alabama football fan. You know, I love Alabama. I love Alabama. Captain Timothy Waits, and let me just say, roll tide. You know, I love Alabama. Roll tide. Where's Timothy? Where's Timothy? That was a hell of a game this week. I don't know how the hell you pulled that one out. That was, if you didn't win, I wouldn't have mentioned it. I would have just introduced you. I wouldn't have. But you came back from oblivion. Isn't it nice coming back? You know, coming back is good. Thanks as well to your XO, Captain Patrick Blind. Patrick, where is he, Patrick? Patrick, thank you. Highly respected person. All of these people are the best. Look at them. I mean, you look at them. They could have any job they wanted. They could walk down to Wall Street, make a fortune. They wouldn't do that. They like what they're doing, and nobody does it better, as well as really one of the most important people on the ship. Have you ever heard of Command Master Chief Tony Roberts? Have you ever heard of him? Wherever you are, where's Tony? Thank you. Thank you, Tony. He's a popular guy. And as many of you know, this month we're celebrating a truly momentous anniversary. 250 years of courage and pride, honor and victory by the United States Navy. 250 years. Can you imagine? And 3 weeks ago, Melania and I flew to Naval Station Norfolk. I think many of you probably know that, and witnessed an unforgettable display of pure American dominance at sea. It was incredible to watch. They gave us some. Then I said, slow it down, costs a lot of money. Let's save it. You know, let's relax a little bit. They gave us some great display, from the thunderous roar of the guided missile destroyers, never saw anything like it, to the spectacular sight of nuclear submarines all over the place, to the unstoppable force of another great American aircraft carrier. One thing was clear, that no enemy will ever even dream of threatening America's Navy. There's no Navy even close, not even close. You hear about some of them doing ships, but nobody can do what we do. Nobody has what we have. And we also have the best equipment that rides along in those ships. You see that. Nobody makes equipment like we do. Nobody makes the ammunition, the weapons, the missiles, the planes, none of it. And if they do, the American sailor stands ready to crush them and sink them and wreck them and blast them into oblivion, right? We have to. And that's a terrible statement for me to make. That's the end of it, because everybody said that I should immediately get the Nobel Peace Award. With that statement, that takes me out of the running, but that's the way. That's the way it is. The United States is blessed with the strongest and most powerful military in the history of the world. There's no military like our military, not even close. Nobody has our weapons, and it'll be stronger and more powerful than ever before very soon. You know, we just approved the biggest budget in the history, over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion. We have the best ships, the best airplanes, the best submarines, the best technology. But above all, we have America's military. It's the best people. It's all about the people, ultimately. You have to work all of that fancy stuff that we make better than anybody else. The fact is, we do make the best weapons, but if you don't have the right people to operate those weapons, they don't mean much. Despite that, as Commander-in-Chief, I never forget that our ultimate strength does not come from equipment. It comes from the men and women of the rank and file. That's true. It comes from you people, incredible people, good-looking people, too many good-looking people. I don't like good-looking people. I never liked good-looking people, I'll be honest with you. I've never admitted that before. But see, I'm allowed to. You know, we won in the Supreme Court a thing based on merit. You know about that, right? merit. Everything now in our country is based on merit, and that's why I look at you and I see nothing but merit. It's great to have a country back where we can go by merit now. We don't go by anything else except for talent and work and hard work, and it's such a big win. That was such one of the most important wins, and the will, patriotism, and spirit in your hearts is our single greatest weapon. The strength that you have is unbelievable. That's why as we make a record investment in our military, we've never spent so much, and we've never spent it more wisely, because now we watch it. We spend it properly. I'm also supporting an across-the-board pay raise for every sailor and service member in the United States Armed Forces. Now, if you don't want it, you want to give back to your country, just let us know. We won't give it to you. Is there anybody in that category? Huh? But now, all we really have to do is get the Democrats to approve it. But they'll come along. They always do, you know, they always do. And because I heard that the sailors on the George Washington took a hit to your family separation pay, you know what I'm talking about, right? You took a little hit to be here, right? By returning to the port, you returned early for this event. I am delighted to announce that as your sort of boss, I don't feel like your boss, but I guess I am. At least you'll be happy about this one. At my direction, we're going to make sure that you receive the full amount that you were owed for the deployment. And we're not going to deduct anything because you came in to listen to your commander. I'd like to be an admiral. I always wanted to be an admiral, to be honest. Don't tell the other people that I love so much. You know, they sit around the table, they have all those beautiful stars and stripes. But I'll tell you what I love. I will always love the admirals. I love those uniforms. And I look at these guys. I don't think I would have done very well if I had to compete with these people.
All right, viewers, there, of course, you can see U.S. President Donald Trump is addressing U.S. troops in Japan. This is aboard the USS George Washington. Remember, Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi have visited U.S. Naval Base in Yokosuka. And we're seeing quite the address over there. Takaichi had earlier spoken. She had stated that she is determined to elevate the U.S.-Japan alliance, which she describes as the greatest alliance in the world. And Trump, meanwhile, calling Takaichi a tough negotiator, has emphasized that he's just approved the first batch of missiles to be delivered to the Japanese self-defense forces, and they're arriving this week ahead of schedule. This is a major development coming in. With us on the broadcast is Stephen Nagy. He's a professor at the International Christian University, joining us from Tokyo. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. Breaking developments we're tracking at the moment. Donald Trump making a very crucial announcement regarding the delivery of missiles to Japan. We do know that certain Japanese warships were being modified in order to house American missiles as well. What do you make of this? How crucial do you think this is, not just in advancing the U.S.-Japan strategic alliance, but to also, secure the Indo-Pacific at large and counter China?
So thank you very much for having me. This is a symbolic gesture, but it's also a concrete gesture of the strength and the endurance and the depth of the U.S.-Japan alliance. Symbolically, President Trump has been very strategic in first visiting Malaysia, the ASEAN summit, visiting the strongest and most important ally within the region, Japan, and he'll be in South Korea tomorrow for the APEC summit. He has sequentially demonstrated that America is firmly embedded in the region and that it has strong partners, and that its partners are not surely just diplomatic or economic, but also have a strong security dimension. And there couldn't be anything more evident of that than the early delivery of defense missile systems. What is the message for China? The message for China is that, again, the United States is in the region, has the strongest of partnerships, and it's willing to defend the Indo-Pacific free and open order from authoritarian states. I think it also sets up the stage for a very tough meeting with Xi Jinping in South Korea in terms of trade negotiations. demonstrating again the United States is not standing alone. It's not stepped back under the Trump administration. In fact, it's stepped forward based on more reciprocity with its relationships. And again, the strongest of allies, as Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae mentioned in her comments as well.
Indeed, and that is not all. Takaichi Sanae has also in fact stated that peace cannot be preserved by words alone. It can only be protected when there is unwavering determination and action. Do you think then what we're witnessing at this moment as far as this defense deal is concerned is a move towards that?
So we should be very clear that Japan's defense posture and its acquisitions of these missile systems are completely defense-oriented. Japan still retains Article 9 of its pacifist constitution that prohibits it using of military power as an instrument of foreign policy. In that sense, it's consistent with Japan's defensive posture within the region, but also this posture that Japan must work with countries with similar interests like the United States, South Korea, Australia, India, Canada, to preserve the current order within the region and ensure that authoritarian states don't have a might is right approach to foreign affairs. For middle powers such as Japan or India or South Korea, that is a nightmare scenario, and this is why Japan has worked so facetiously with the Trump administration to anchor it in the region, to demonstrate its defense commitments, and to demonstrate that it's willing to shoulder a greater defense burden within the broader Indo-Pacific region.
Absolutely. I request you to stay on with us, sir. We're tracking some other very crucial developments as far as this particular visit is concerned. We're now learning that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has met with Japan's Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi on the sidelines of this morning summit between Trump and Takaichi. Both sides have now reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening the U.S. Japan alliance, and during bilateral talks, Japan's foreign minister has stated that the summit between the two leaders earlier today was productive and friendly. Listen in.
本日午前の日米首脳会談は、高市総理と、トランプ大統領との間で、非常に和やかで、そして充実した、議論ができたと思っております。キー長官との間でもですね、世界で最も偉大な同盟であります日米同盟を世界に示すべく、緊密に連携し
Returning the sentiment, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has emphasized that U.S. and Japan continue to share common security interests and that both countries are aiming to modernize their relationship in order to face emerging challenges in technology and cybersecurity as well. Supply chains in light of global volatilities is another crucial common concern. Listen in.
Today we signed a number of agreements, the president signed with the prime minister, but all of these negotiations and talks and trade deals and partnerships on critical minerals are all built on a very powerful foundation, which has been laid over the decades between our two countries. The foundation, economic foundation, very strong, has long been one of the largest, if not the largest in many cases, investors in the U.S. economy. Partnerships that we had on a number of business fronts has been extraordinary.
This comes, of course, as U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi have signed a framework agreement during the summit earlier. The agreement focuses on mining, processing and developing fair markets through coordinated investments and economic policies as well. Still with us on the broadcast is Professor Stephen Nagy. Interesting development, because what's also cropped up is rare earths and sourcing common alternatives for rare earths. We do know that these minerals are very precious, especially when it comes to manufacturing electronics and defense equipment as well. China, on the other hand, has imposed restrictions on rare earth minerals. They have in fact retracted that number to, I believe, 12 out of 17 minerals as of now. The US has, in the meantime, threatened to impose 100% tariffs over and above the 30% that already exist. So in light of that, as well as the upcoming summit, how crucial is this particular aspect, this particular element of the agreement that has now come to fruition between Japan and the United States?
So as I mentioned before, President Trump's visit has been timed in a sequential manner to demonstrate that the Americans are part of the region, that they have a strong relationship with ASEAN. They've dealt with a more challenging diplomatic partner, Malaysia, visited Tokyo, and then South Korea, of course. This is meant to demonstrate that, again, the United States is working with its partners to not only secure rare earth materials in terms of mines and other areas, but again, to work together in terms of technology to be able to process these rare earth materials, to remove China's stranglehold from this very critical resource. Without free and open access to rare earth materials, but also the processing facilities, it will be very difficult for the United States, Japan, and like-minded countries, including India, for them to produce the kind of defense equipment that allows them to remain on the vanguard of security, on the vanguard of defense, and again, being the most powerful partnerships in terms of security and defense. This is going to continue to be the play that the Americans work with Japan and other partners. I expect them to continue to expand the number of partners that are working in the rare earth field because it's so critical. And again, China has weaponized rare earth materials as a negotiating tool with the United States to try and reduce tariffs that have been placed on the United States to recalibrate trade relations.
Indeed, and there are investments that have also been announced by Japan in the United States of America, which amount to about $550 billion US. This covers shipbuilding, increased purchases of US soybeans, gas, and vehicles. The United States and the Trump administration in particular has been very concerned about the exports of its soybeans. China has, of course, trained its sights on Argentina. On the other hand, majority of Trump's voter base is from the Midwest, which grows these soybeans. Do you think that Japan, with this pledge now, would be an alternative market?
So Japan is a small market compared to China. Let's be realistic. China is 10 times bigger in terms of population and demand for these kinds of goods. But again, Japan investing $550 billion is not pocket change. It represents the two economies forming a kind of a synergistic bond in which Japan provides some investment and helps make America great again. This is going to continue to be the process that the United States rebuilds its economy and rebuilds its industrial might. It really is fundamentally transforming its economy, its diplomacy, in a way that the best metaphor is the same way it transformed everything after 9/11 to deal with terrorism. It's transforming every aspect of its industrial might, its defense complex, and its partnerships to deal with the challenge of authoritarian states, in particular the pacing challenge of China. Expect more investments, but expect more smart investments that help the Japanese make Japan great again, that help make America great again at the same time.
One final question. We're just getting a reaction from China. China's foreign ministry has stated that the development of U.S.-Japan relations and security cooperation should contribute to regional peace and stability. In fact, their spokesperson, Go Jae-kyun, has urged Japan to respect the security concerns of its neighbors as well. This is a very pointed message to Japan ahead of the APEC summit, the Trump-Xi meeting, which is on the anvil as well. What are your expectations, and how do you think China will now approach this particular meeting in light of what we've witnessed in Tokyo?
So let's be realistic and quite honest. Japan is not threatening anybody in the region. Its relations with South Korea have continued to improve. Its relations with Southeast Asian countries continue to demonstrate that Japan is one of the most trusted partners with Southeast Asia. And when we look at other partners, India, there couldn't be a better relationship. Europeans trust Japan and the United States trust Japan. Let's be clear, Japan is not a threat to anybody within the region, and China's comments are expected. It's expected that they'll continue to criticize deepening Japan-U.S. partnership within the region. At the same time, I think we should be very clear, in the South China Sea, the country that is causing the most stress for Southeast Asian countries is China. Ask the Filipinos, ask the Vietnamese, ask the Indonesians. ask the Malaysians. Across the Taiwan Strait, again, it's not Taiwan that is threatening China. It's China building a military-industrial complex to take back Taiwan by force if necessary. In this sense, what China says really does not play out in facts, and I think most countries within the region agree with Japan's expanded defense posture and its cooperation with the United States, and they would like to anchor the United States into the broader Indo-Pacific region.
All right, so with that, I'd like to thank you for taking our time and, of course, sharing your insights with us. Meanwhile, we're also learning that U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has called for a sound monetary policy with Japan during his meeting with Japan's Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama. The statement from the U.S. Treasury Department comes just ahead of the Bank of Japan's two-day policy meeting that is due to end on Thursday. Now, according to the United States Treasury Department, Bessent has stressed the importance of strong monetary policy formulation and clear communication in order to help stabilize inflation expectations. These talks could further help avoid excessive volatility in the currency markets. Interestingly, Bessent has also noted that Japan's economic conditions in the current times differ significantly from the era of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's quote-unquote Abenomics policies, which he introduced over a decade ago. These remarks have caused a brief strengthening of the yen and have raised expectations that Washington may continue to pressure Tokyo to tighten its monetary policy even quicker. Meanwhile, viewers, shifting focus to more news coming in from Japan. Japan's former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's alleged killer has now pled guilty 3 years after the assassination in broad daylight. Tetsuya Yamagami, aged 45, admitted in court to assassinating Abe with a handmade firearm during a campaign speech in July 2022. Meanwhile, Yamagami acknowledged the killing. His lawyer indicated they may contest certain charges related to arms control violations. Yamagami's alleged motive stems from Abe's ties to the Unification Church, whose extreme demands left Yamagami's family financially ruined. He reportedly blamed Abe for supporting the group, linking his personal grievance directly to the assassination. Now, probes have exposed deep links between Unification Church and ruling party lawmakers, prompting 4 ministers to resign. This year, Tokyo's court ordered the church's Japanese arm dissolved, citing unprecedented damage to society. Shifting focus away from East Asia towards South Asia. We're now learning that talks between Afghanistan and Pakistan in Istanbul to broker a long-term truce have ended without a resolution. Now, 2 sources familiar with the matter have stated this is a blow for peace in the region after deadly clashes that had occurred earlier this month. The talks aimed to reach lasting peace between the South Asian neighbors after dozens were killed along their border in the worst such violence since the Taliban took power in Kabul in 2021. Both sides agreed to a ceasefire brokered in Doha on the 19th of October, but could not find common ground in a second round of talks mediated by Turkey and Qatar in Istanbul. Both sides have blamed each other for the failure. A Pakistani security source has stated that the Taliban had been unwilling to commit to rein in the TTP, which is a militant group hostile to Islamabad. Islamabad claims it in fact operates with impunity inside Afghanistan. Meanwhile, an Afghan source familiar with the talks has stated that they ended after tense exchanges over the issue, adding that the Afghan side had stated that it has no control over the TTP, which has launched attacks against Pakistani troops in recent weeks. The spokespersons for Afghanistan's Taliban government and defense ministry and for the Pakistani Army and Defense and Foreign Ministries did not immediately respond to any requests for comments. There are no formal comments that have come out from either countries as of now. The October clashes, remember, began after Pakistani airstrikes had taken place in Kabul, which is the Afghan capital, among other locations. The head of the TTP was targeted in these strikes. The Taliban, of course, responded with attacks on Pakistani military posts along the length of the 2,600-kilometer border. The breakdown in talks have, of course, caught the attention of U.S. President Donald Trump. It could, of course, strain the delicate ceasefire between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Of course, earlier, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif has stated that he believed Afghanistan wanted peace, but that failure to reach an agreement in Istanbul would mean open war. This is, of course, the latest that we're tracking on the broadcast. With us is Fakhar Yousafzai. He's a Pakistani journalist based in Islamabad. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. I wanted to understand from you, what are the consequences now of the talks breaking down? As I mentioned earlier, Khwaja Asif did state that any failure to reach common ground could result in open war between Pakistan and Afghanistan. We have seen a very delicate, fragile ceasefire come into place on the 19th of October after talks in Doha. But somehow talks in Istanbul have not been successful.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. Actually, there were so many expectations from Pakistan as well as from other side of the border in Kabul as well. But unfortunately, these 3 days dialogue ended without any proper resolution, without a joint statement, and without any commitment between the both sides. And I think so in Doha, the situation was not that much worse as we have seen in Istanbul. Actually, Pakistan is trying to want to get commitment, a written agreement from Kabul that they will not support the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is a big threat for the security forces of Pakistan, especially in the border areas and Afghanistan and Balochistan areas. But the Afghan Taliban is totally deny that this is your internal matter. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is operating from Pakistan, not from Afghanistan. Therefore, you should, if you want to operate against them, you can. If you want to do something other way, or maybe you can talk to them for the peace agreement with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. This is the news from Kabul, which is coming. But Pakistan is not ready for anything except that the Afghan Taliban government should give us the assurance that they will not support and they will operate against the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in the Afghanistan area. Actually, if we talk about the Afghan Taliban as well as the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, these are the two groups, but I think so they are follow the same regime, the same thing. Of course, both are both towards the Kandahar. They salutes to the Mullah Omar, and they follow his legacy, I think so, in both area, in Pakistan as well as in Afghanistan. Therefore, the Pakistani government or the Pakistani authorities are trying so many times. This is not the first time in Istanbul, in Doha, in Kabul. So many times our foreign minister or deputy prime minister, defense minister have visited Kabul for 5 times in last, I think so, 1.5 years. But no result coming from there. Therefore, as you mentioned about the statement of the defense minister of Pakistan, Mr. Khwaja Asif, which he said that if the dialogue is failed, there will be open war between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But I think so. For Pakistan, this situation is not good. Of course, not for Afghanistan, I think. So Afghanistan is facing what they are facing right now. The crossing points of between Pakistan and Afghanistan is blocked from last 16 days. So many thousands of trucks and trailers are parked other side of the border as well as on this side in 5 crossing points. Of course, the traders, the business community is facing so many problems. But if we talk about the government in Kabul and the government in Islamabad, they are, I think so, they are not in a mood that they will open the border or they will go back or they will step down from their demands. This is the main thing, and this is, I think so, the main reason behind this deadlock, or I will say that the failure of this dialogue in Istanbul.
Indeed, and speaking of Khwaja Asif, earlier when he was questioned in Western media about terror networks, terror hubs that are operating in Pakistan. He had made a statement stating that Pakistan was simply doing the dirty work of the West. This was seen as a tacit admission of the fact that, yes, there are terrorist elements that are operating out of Pakistan. There has been backing by the establishment as well. So in light of that and the recent attacks we've seen, there was a warning that was given by Hillary Clinton about a decade back that snakes reared in Pakistan's backyard would eventually come to bite it back. Are we seeing that taking place and coming to fruition?
You're absolutely right. Actually, the journalists like me, and there are so many other people who was talking about all these situations, especially in 2021 when the Taliban took over the Kabul after the Ashraf Ghani government. And we talk to the government, to the authorities here in Islamabad, as well as that time I was in Kabul. We have talked so many times on these type of issues. Our senior politicians have talked about this issue in 2001, in 1979. There are so many examples in front of us. But I think so, our establishment, I think so, was the part of that game. With the U.S., of course, U.S. is not living here. This is far away from Afghanistan, from Pakistan. But we are facing this issue right now, and we have lost more than 80,000 people in this war. We have lost $150 billion in this war on terror. But what we gain? I think so, I will say nothing. Right now, we are facing Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is a big threat right now for our security forces. They are attacking in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa areas in the Pak-Afghan border, as well as they are attacking in the capital of Balochistan, Quetta, as well as in the other Pashtun areas like Job, Noshki, and different areas. They are attacking the security forces installation in Balochistan as well. Therefore, this is a big threat for Pakistan. But what we are doing right now? Actually, all the people are divided. There are so many differences. The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government and the Imran Khan saying that we should go for the dialogue with the Afghan government. We should go for the dialogue with the other people, especially the stakeholder of those areas. I mean to say the Pashtun people who's living in those areas. But I think so our government or our establishment are trying. They are attacking 3 times. They attacked Afghanistan in airstrike. And right now in October, we have seen the big clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And I think so in last 77 and 78 years, we didn't see the clashes like this one, which we have seen in October 12 or 13 or 14 of October this month. Actually, our policy, I think so, still we are not going for the streamlined policy. Of course, we should accept all our mistakes in the past, and we should go with the streamlined policy with Afghanistan, with Iran, with India, with China, and other neighbors or the rest of the world. Of course, if we want that we should overcome the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or BLA or ISIK, they are also operating in those areas. Then we should make a clear policy. We should get the confidence of the people of Pakistan. The parliament is not involving in anything here, unfortunately. The people of Pakistan is not involving in these matters. This is the main reason because of which we are facing so many threats, but we are not able to overcome all these things. We are losing our security forces. We are losing our police officers. We are losing our bureaucracy people in those areas. But we are not able to overcome Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. They are wandering, I think so, in every district of the border areas.
All right, with that, I would like to thank you, Mr. Yousafzai, for taking our time and, of course, sharing your perspective on what exactly is transpiring between Afghanistan and Pakistan. But in the meantime, according to an exclusive report filed by the Sunday Guardian, the latest round of the Pakistan-Afghanistan negotiations in Turkey collapsed moments after the Pakistani delegation received a phone call from Islamabad and abruptly reversed its position. Now, according to insiders familiar with closed-door discussions, the three-day talks mediated by officials from Qatar and Turkey had been on the verge of agreement. Both sides had finalized nearly all agenda items. Afghanistan had reiterated its long-standing position that it would not allow anyone to use its soil to attack Pakistan and had offered to formalize this commitment. In return, Kabul sought reciprocal guarantees that Pakistan would not violate Afghan airspace, would prevent U.S. drones from operating through its territory, and would ensure ISIS-linked groups were not allowed to use Pakistani soil to strike Afghanistan. Initially, according to these sources, the Pakistani delegation agreed to all of these conditions. But soon after receiving the phone call, it retracted its consent, stating that Islamabad could not prevent U.S. drone operations or guarantee measures against ISIS elements. Now, according to an insider familiar with what was transpiring, the deal was all but settled, and then everything changed after this particular phone call. Diplomatic sources have stated that the abrupt U-turn shocked the mediators, who described the Pakistani team's behavior as erratic and uncoordinated. The delegation had already drawn attention for its off-topic interventions, frequent use of harsh language as well. Sources say that at one point, Turkish and Qatari representatives privately remarked to the Afghan side that Pakistan appeared to be struggling with too many difficult neighbors. Insiders stated that Pakistani delegation also lost composure during the exchanges. Pakistan's representatives warned that if the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan continued attacks, Islamabad would retaliate against Afghanistan. The Afghan side countered that controlling violence inside Pakistan was the responsibility of Pakistan's own security forces and not Kabul's. By the final day, all agenda items, I reiterate, except one, had been settled. However, this particular phone call that was made from Islamabad and the subsequent reversal had undone days of progress, leaving the session in collapse. All right, viewers, shifting focus to more news coming in. 3 people have died in Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa approached the islands in Haiti and Dominican Republic. 4 deaths have been reported so far. Meanwhile, Jamaican PM has warned of mass devastation in an interview. He has stated that the storms are likely to turn north, so that means it could have an impact on the shores more to the western end of Jamaica. Residents are bracing for the hurricane as well. Winds are nearing 175 miles an hour and torrential rain is already lashing in parts of the island. The National Hurricane Center has warned of total structural failure in some areas. Meanwhile, campaigning has commenced for Myanmar's military-organized elections, a vote rejected by the opposition and widely viewed as an effort to legitimize the junta's rule amid ongoing civil war. The polls that are set to begin in phases from 28 December exclude Aung San Suu Kyi's dissolved National League for Democracy, which won overwhelmingly before the 2021 coup. Some 57 junta-approved parties will contest, but large areas under rebel control will not vote, and martial law remains in place across much of the country. Public interest is low as conflict and economic hardship is worsening. The pro-military USDP launched its campaign under heavy security, but activity elsewhere is sparse. Rights groups and the United Nations have stated that elections cannot be free or fair, and diplomatic sources have confirmed that ASEAN will not send observers for further isolating the regime as it seeks international legitimacy. Well, viewers, that's all we have for this bulletin. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned on NewsX World.